Holy cow! We are live with COFOH and Hex Publishers presents Undead readings from It Came from the Multiplex, Part 2. Yes, there's a sequel. Oh, man. And my name is Dan Crozier. I'm your host. I'm so sorry for you to have to put up with me. And we are joined by Josh Riola from Hex Publishers. How are you, Josh?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Yeah, we're going to go zoom in on you. Look at that pretty face.
It's close enough to Halloween, so it's time to scare everybody.
That's right. I love your mask.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
So, Josh,
thanks for having us.
Yeah, Josh, tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so the book came out about a month ago now. So it's ramping up, and we're pushing it pretty heavy for Halloween. So it came from the Multiplex, is 80s horror movie anthology that I was honored to be asked to put together for you, really in collaboration with you guys for Colorado Festival of Horror. So I got to work closely with Brett and Jeannie Smith, which was a nightmare. Now that I'm kidding. It was a great experience, and the best part of the book. Very proud of it. Very happy with how every story came out. How the whole thing works together as a whole. You know, paying tribute to 80s horror cinema. I think everybody really found a way to honor the different aspects of that. That's really popular, whether it be campy, the campy sort of nostalgia that people adhere to and think about with the 80s, and then the extreme, dark, morbid, gory stuff. So it has a nice balance throughout the whole book. But the better part of the project really was that the collaboration, which is the most fun in all of these things, working with all these different people, but especially here on this panel today, I'm pretty close to everybody that we're talking to. So the camaraderie is a lot of fun. So hopefully people that pick the book up and read it will see that.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. We've got a wonderful selection of authors today. We're joined by Warren Hammond and Angie Hodap. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Perfect.
Excellent. And then we've got Alec Farrell, who's reading Farrell. Sorry, I knew I was going to screw something up.
For real.
For real. Reading for his father, Keith Farrell's short story, and then we're also joined by Mario Acevedo. Is that correct? Did I pronounce your name all right?
That's close enough. Thank you.
Okay. So, and then of course, we're joined also by Brett and Jeannie Smith, who helped facilitate this and work with Josh and work with all the authors, the wonderful authors on this. Oh man, what was this creative process like for you guys?
For us, it was really fun. It was very much out of our comfort zone. We've never done anything like it before, and Josh made it very understandable and easy, and we had a lot of fun with it.
It's crazy, the details and what goes into making a book that we had no clue. We were at Denver Comic-Con, and Josh was like, we got to go look at some art here because we're going to pick a cover for this book. We went over to the Blizzard Entertainment area, and Josh introduced us to AJ Nazzaro, who did the cover for this book. And we're like, oh, so that means the book's almost done, right?
Nice. Yeah, you got a nice big poster of the book. Is that the larger book version?
Yeah, large print for us blind people.
Nice.
Yeah, this is the regular cover, and the one in the back is the Colorado Festival of Horror Convention exclusive cover, which is slightly different. You got to kind of study it a bit.
Nice.
But it's been nothing but fun. I mean, we've got some unbelievable writers. The 4 stories that are going to be represented on this fall are really among my favorite, I must confess, that are really awesome stories. And it was a joy to read them and to copy edit. I guess we learned a little bit about copy editing during this process, of which Angie could teach us quite a few things on that, as well as Josh and Mario.
Nice.
It was fun, a lot of fun.
Cool. And Josh, where can people go to purchase a copy of this wonderful book?
All the online major retailers, so Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. Locally in Colorado, we're at Tattered Cover, and we are in a couple Barnes and Noble brick and mortar stores. I know that we're the ones that I know of are one of the Colorado Springs stores and Lafayette, Louisiana. So, if you're not battling the hurricanes, or if you have and you need something to distract you, you can. Go to the Barnes & Noble in Lafayette, Louisiana, and pick it up. But yeah, all the online major retailers, so Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and hexpublishers.com, as well as your COFOH website, which links to all of them.
Yeah, so there's a little ticker underneath there. We'll turn that off when we start reading, because that can be a little distracting. But yeah, go to Hex Publishers, get your copy. Now, God damn it! It's absolutely a wonderful book. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So we'll start with Warren Hammond reading Alien Parasites from Outer Space.
Perfect intro. So I have to warn everybody that this story, Alien Parasites from Outer Space, does not include a lap monster, but currently I have a lap monster. There's a cat on my lap. So you see some strange movements. It's independent of the story. It has nothing to do with the story. Moths swarm the hot pink neon of the Meteor Drive-In marquee as Carl Kramer pedals past. The long driveway leads steeply downhill, and Carl lets the bike pick up speed, the rush of July air cooling his sweaty face. He brakes as the hill levels out and stops at the ticket booth. He pulls a 5 from the pocket of his no-name jeans and hands it to Scary Joe. Not scary, though most wouldn't hesitate to use that word to describe Joe. It's scarry, as in burns all over his face. Joe hands back 3 singles. It's a good one tonight, he says, a classic. Carl pockets his change. Is it true about the director? Joe nods. His head is a splotchy patchwork of hair and scar tissue. Some say he was in a fiery car crash. Others say it happened in Vietnam. Nobody seems to know which. Directed by Jasper Reed, he says, born and raised right here in Jamesburg, Nebraska. Did you know him? I did. Best of friends for a time. A car horn makes Carl jump. A Ford pickup has pulled in behind him, headlights blinding. Hurry up, Kramer shouts a male voice, and he dumps. Carl raises a middle finger and mouths a silent fuck you. It's not the smartest move, but at the moment he doesn't care how hard that 270-pound asshole can punch. The sooner Andy leaves town to play O-line for the Huskers, the better. He's somewhat surprised and more than a little relieved to see the truck's doors stay closed. Carl shades his eyes, but the headlights are too bright to gauge Andy's reaction. Scary Joe, though, he thinks this is hilarious. His laugh is more of a cackle, his shoulders bouncing up and down with each snicker. The truck lunges forward, and a startled Carl releases his 10-speed and jumps aside, though he knows immediately it's a feint. The Ford has moved only a foot forward, and Carl hears laughter from inside. Feeling the flush in his cheeks, Carl snatches his bike and pedals through the gate into the flat-bottomed crater where the Meteor Drive-In resides. It was a big attraction 30 years ago, just like the Meteor Mini Putt, the Meteor Motel, and the Crater Slide. That was before I-80 was built, before all the cross-country traffic was drawn away from town. Only the drive-in still operates in July and August, and based on the weed-chewed pavement, Carl isn't sure it will survive to see 87. He steers clear of potholes and broken glass until he finds space number 53, the one with the ratty folding chair propped against the post. He drops the kickstand, positions the chair next to his bike, and grabs the speaker from its post to hang from the Schwinn's crossbar. I'll stop there.
So what's that? Oh, so my story comes right after Warren's story and is a sequel to the story, and this is the second time we've actually done this. Josh and Hex Publishers did the Georgetown. Josh, you're gonna have to remind me the title. Georgetown Haunts
and Mysteries.
So we did kind of a shared world back-to-back story for that. And so Brett and Jeannie were like, hey, maybe you guys should try to do the same thing for this one. So Warren and I had a lot of fun kind of bouncing ideas off each other, coming up with the story, and then trying to figure out who's going to write the first story and who's going to write the second. So that was the intro to story one. And then I'm going to read a little bit from the middle of the second story, which I wrote. In this setup, Carl and Andy, who's the kid who just flipped off, have to join forces to figure out what's happening. Carl slings his backpack over his shoulder and moves along the front of the concession stand. He rattles the aluminum shutter that's rolled down over the service window that's hooked tight. Let's check out the dumpster. Why the hell do you think Becca's in the dumpster? Carl doesn't answer, but there's a smell in the air now, a smell that's more than trash, a smell that's getting stronger the closer they get to the dumpster. He swallows and keeps moving. He peeks around the corner. There, in the moonlight, sitting with his back against the dumpster, is Scary Joe. Is he dead? Andy says. Hard hammering, Carl pulls his flashlight from his backpack. He has no choice. He'll only use it for a couple of seconds, not long enough to attract many moths. He switches it on and aims it at Joe. Carl hasn't eaten all day, but that doesn't stop his gut from bucking. Behind him, Andy lets out a string of cuss words. Scary Joe is dead. His chin is slumped to his chest. Blood cakes the side of his face. It came from his ear, Carl realizes. So much of it that his shoulder and one side of his wife beater got drenched. In one hand, Scary Joe clutches a bloody ice pick. Did he do that to himself? Andy's voice goes soprano. Jesus, why the hell would he do that to himself? He got a moth in his ear, a parasite. He knew he had to kill it before it made him kill other people. You mean like in the movie last night? He says. That's crazy, Kramer. That was just a movie. No, it was a warning. Joe told me the parasites come out every 10 years and turn people into mindless killers. Those two guys in the movie, Stan and Sam. Stan is Joe, and Sam is Jasper Reed, the director. Jasper made the movie to document what happened to them in high school and warn people that it would happen again. I'll stop there.
Oh, man.
Bravo.
That was fantastic. Your short story is called Return of the Alien Parasites from Outer Space. Space. With the joint universe and everything, is this something that you see as building up into even a third short?
I think we'd be open to it, and the second story certainly does. And there's resolution, but it certainly leaves it open for further run-ins with this alien parasite who's not quite green yet.
Nice. It seems like this was somewhat influenced by such amazing alien bug movies like Alien, I keep thinking of like Explorers for some reason too. I keep thinking of films, obviously, but was there any like literal? I can't talk. Any books? There you go, books that really inspired you.
I don't know so much for this one. We were really thinking movies since that was the theme of the anthology. We did talk a lot about Invasion of the Body Snatchers being kind of a little bit of a template that we were kind of going after. The old, I think did they remake? I think they remade that, right? But
I'm not sure.
To me, it's a Donald Sutherland movie. Yeah. From maybe 1980,
1976 or 9 or
something like that. Yeah, I remember that. That one's my favorite one. It's got Jeff Goldblum and Leonard Nimoy. You got all these wonderful character actors, doing that. And yeah, that is a film that's been remade time and time again. I think the last one was that I know of was the Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman thing that nobody remembers, and
for good reason.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Well, yeah, thanks Warren, thanks Angie for for sharing your shorts. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing those selections.
Sharing.
Yeah.
I was going to jump in and say one of the interesting parts harder parts really about putting an anthology together is figuring out the order of the stories, because it's kind of like a mixtape. Where you're really trying to figure out how to balance these, what works best for keeping the audience intrigued. And Warren and Angie's double feature is kind of called it behind the scenes. I thought it was a great introduction to how the book flows, because it really smacks you in the face with the 80s nostalgia. I think that they tackled the fun campiness of the 80s, the horror elements, and it almost has like a Spielberg, Stranger Things kind of vibe with the interactions with the kids. So yeah, when we were figuring out the order of the book, Rhett, Jeannie, and myself all agreed that we wanted to start with their double feature. So,
oh, that's fantastic. Cool. Well, we're moving on now. We've got Alec. He's going to be reading his late father Keith's a selection from the short story, the Cronenberg Concerto.
No echo.
No echo. You sound good.
Concerto. Oh. Well,
I'm sorry about that. It's the outer space thing that gets me going on the pigs in space.
Oh yeah. No, this one's not nearly as fun as every other story in the book. It's really disturbing, and I'll just start. So, Keith Farrell's words. And in reviewing an email from him Sunday, December 15th, 2019, 4:48 p.m. Here's the story which I wrapped up a couple hours ago. So I brought my mom down from Virginia so he could get some writing time. And this is what came out of that.
Cool.
The Cronenberg Concerto by Keith Farrell. It should have been a golden age. The 80s should have been the most blood-red golden age ever for the movies Lee loved and lived for, but it wasn't. Even after a midnight movie, the theaters today were too clean for him. The seats were too comfortable. The popcorn, not that he ever ordered popcorn anymore, too fresh. The floors weren't sticky. The bathrooms weren't stained. The screens weren't torn and spotted. The projectors were too reliable, not to mention the projectionists. Lee couldn't remember the last time a film had broken or a projector bulb had burned out. The audience was not the audiences Lee wished to sit with. They offered no companionship, no shared experience. Their attendance brought neither prospect nor potential. Like the theaters they filled, the audiences were too clean. The movies themselves were too clean. Not that he wanted filth, not sex filth anyway. There was nothing prurient about either his interest or his attendance. Lee disliked the nudity and increasingly explicit sexuality that began creeping onto the screen during the 1970s and became a torrent by the turn of the new decade. He came to see skin flayed, not bared. Yet most of the movies now were more bare than bloody. That wasn't what he had come to see since he was a kid in the 60s, when the movies he loved were born. He'd been present at their birth, and he'd watched them grow over the 20 years since. He'd seen them all, though only a very few achieved the greatness that earned his highest tribute and homage. So, that kicks it off a little bit. I can keep going.
Yeah, if you want to keep going a little bit.
There was nothing in the theaters for anyone. We're all doomed. No, I'm kidding. There was nothing in the theaters for Lee anymore, and yet still he came. He could not stop or would not. He stood in line. Sometimes they were long. Sometimes the theaters sold out their midnight shows. And not just for Rocky Horror, that abomination, that musical mockery of all that drew him, all that he came for, all that had drawn him for decades. He knew what he came to find, and not just on the screen. What he came for was what he'd been coming for since he was 10, yet found so rarely on the screens anymore. Nor was there much of what he wanted in the seats around him, even when a theater was full. Some of the other patrons noticed Lee, though not many. Lost in their own heads, most of those heads addled by pot or worse, another gift of the 60s that persisted and proliferated into the 80s. Sometimes they even burned a joint in the theater. The odor made Lee want to throw up, and sometimes he did. Some who noticed him looked away. One or two would stare. Occasionally, he would overhear a couple out for a Friday or Saturday night date whisper to each other about that poor man. The ticket booth attendants noticed too, and the ticket takers inside. How could they not when he fumbled with his wallet or extended his ticket between the two fingers that were all that remained of his right hand? He ignored their whispers and paid no attention to their averted gazes. Let them whisper and look away. They weren't what he came to see. But less and less did the screens offer what he came to see either. Some golden age. Had he given 20 years of himself for this, standing in line at a nice theater with a nice, if stoned audience to see a movie that, whatever its title and advertising promised, would be nice in its own way, filled with special effects that everyone in the theater knew weren't real? It was the way of the world now, and Lee hated it. This was not what he'd lived for since the summer of '63. That summer was the best of his life. He'd always heard you never forget your first time, and that summer proved it.
Oh, man. Fantastic.
Yo,
Keith,
that's my dad. That's
Yeah.
Merry
That's
Christmas.
a lot.
I missed him. I wish he were here right now. He would get
Yeah.
such a kick out of it.
Yeah,
So-
can you speak to a little bit of his influence? Obviously, Cronenberg, but
Yeah. Well,
some body horror.
sure. Well, the rest of the story goes on. Honestly, like the next scene, he goes to a theater. I think it's called the Showplace Theater, which, in talking with Keith's brother Ed today, that's actually the Ambassador Theater, which is in downtown Raleigh, or was in downtown Raleigh. Now, and the theater still exists. If you look up on Instagram or whatever, the Rialto Raleigh, that theater actually did exist. And these stories, there's a fair amount of Keith in this story about riding down to the, to basically try and see things that were hard to see. So ultimately, Cronenberg and the one that Ed said that they went to go see was The Creeping Unknown. So the Rialto and other theaters would show, these movies. I think Creeping Unknown is from '53 or something. But between horror and sci-fi and the overall speculative fiction, Keith was the uber fan with like an encyclopedic knowledge of even the pen names of, like pulp smut books that like Robert Silverberg was writing over here. And then, all of the different actors and how they all tied in between some of these old horror movies. But the bottom line is, I think this story is ultimately Keith's sort of nod towards fandom and conventions and, real, basically saying, okay, you really think you're a fan? Here's Lee. Are you serious? Do you really, are you gonna be that much of a fan? And here's the other, there's a chat, because I guess this was, he sent it to me right after he and Josh had wrapped up Psy Wars, or his story for Psy Wars. And this was I feel like this is probably the story he was most proud of, kind of ever, because you really have to want to like it. Like it doesn't really deliver a nice, not that the other stories are more accessible, but this one is a creepy body horror story that's fairly autobiographical. And it's at least in my interpretation of it, but he definitely, I gave him an alternate title, which was Leavings. So and he liked that, and because the guy I was thinking of is actually the lead singer of the band Fear, Leaving, if you're familiar with that guy. He's also Mr. Body in Clue. So that, in my mind, take off an ear, remove a couple fingers, that's Lee. And it's been very interesting getting as close to all of his work, closer now than when he was alive. And maybe that's just what it's, father, son, only child, hey, go forge ahead, man, like make your own life type stuff. And I would send him music I've been working on or other things, and he'd send me these stories. And after reading this one, it was just kind of like, oh, got it, you get it. And I think he just wanted to make something that moved you. You came into it, and by the end of it, you are in a very different place. That's what he wanted from good art, even if it was silly. Like, before you see the movie Tremors and after you see the movie Tremors, you're a different person. I don't know that I can say the same thing about like the Clive Barker Books of Blood remakes that are happening right now or things like that. But something like this, even the Multiplex itself, it's just like, man, I felt like he was just getting rolling on how much he could plumb his bad dreams. He had a lot of bad dreams, kind of body horror mutilation dreams for a very, very long time. And he felt like sharing those with me sometimes. And I just I was his friend, and I know Josh knows what it's like to hear tough stuff from people you're working with. But he was a friend. And I think that Lee was kind of his buddy. So it's really intense. I appreciate you letting me talk about it and read it.
Most definitely. It's really endearing to hear about your relationship with your dad through his work, and it's very insightful. And hopefully, we'll be able to discover more of his works out there.
It's right over here in the corner.
Okay, so we're coming over to your house.
There's a bunch more.
10 minutes, right? You're only on the East Coast.
Oh yeah, well, no, there's a lot more coming from this guy. So read some Keith Farrell.
The thing with Keith, so I had known Keith for just a little over a decade, right around that time, before he passed earlier this year, and we were extremely close. He's actually the biggest inspiration that I had and encouragement I had to be a writer. If it weren't for Keith, Hex Publishers wouldn't have existed. Keith guided me pretty heavily on the first anthology that I put together, which is Nightmares Unhinged, which he contributed to a couple stories in there. So I talked to Keith, whether by phone or email, multiple times a week for a decade. He was kind of my soundboard before I joined the writers group that I was in for a while with Warren and Angie and Mario, among others. So I was really close to Keith, but he was known as a science fiction guy. Anybody who's not familiar with Keith, he was the editor-in-chief of Omni magazine in the 90s. And he co-edited a science fiction anthology with Orson Scott Card, who, if you're familiar with him, he's a sci-fi guy known, mostly for Ender's Game. So Keith had this strong science fiction background, which he was passionate about and loved, but he had a lot of messed up horror stories. That he'd put out some horror and stuff as well. But working under him at Omni was at the time was Ellen Datlow, and if you're a fan of anthologies or short fiction, you know who Ellen is. She is like the name in horror anthologies today. She's top of the list. So he had, even though he had this background in sci-fi, he clearly had his roots in horror as well. So when Multiplex was done and we got all of the stories, they're all fun. And this is a compliment to Keith, except for Keith's. Keith's story is not fun. Keith's is by far the creepiest and the most disturbing story in the book. And I think he would have the biggest smile on his face, to hear me say that. I think that's what he was going for. And so in short, the book is dedicated to Keith. As you said, read more of Keith. There's a lot of stuff out there, and he was a phenomenal writer. And it's too bad he's not with us today, but you can find his stuff. So look him up.
Cool. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Alex. Or Alec. I'm sorry. Man, that's fantastic. All right, and now Mario.
Hello, everybody. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Alec. Wow, that was a great reading. I was just that was amazing. Hard act to follow. Also, I want to thank everybody who's tuning in. Our legions of fans out there. That's always a kick to see what's going on. So I'm going to be reading my contribution to this anthology. My story is called Invisible.
Nice.
$1.50 a car, the girl in the ticket booth says. I pass her a dollar bill and 2 quarters. She makes no comment that I've come to the drive-in alone. Maybe because people do. Like those who want to see a movie by themselves and enjoy it with a smoke and a whiskey, or undo their pants to better appreciate a titty flick, or maybe, like me, to find that special someone. My Ford Galaxy creaks past the booth. I steer onto the field, illuminated by the flickering wash from the gigantic screen at the far end. Parked cars are scattered throughout the stumpy forest of speaker poles. I pick a spot toward the back, at the far right, and watch. Not the screen, but the cars and the people in them. The spring night air is cool, but comfortable. I roll my window down, leaving just enough glass to hook the speaker. After lowering the volume to a buzz, I light a Pall Mall and wait, a spider on its web. I whisper to myself, esta noche, esta noche. My throat dries from the growing tension, becoming so parched that the cigarette smoke burns. I pop a can of Pepsi and sip, soothing my throat. I resume puffing and settle into a rhythm. Puff, sip, feel the refreshing coolness. Puff, sip, keep watching. It's been 11 months since the last time. I prepared myself for tonight by arranging mis riquitas on the coffee table. Youthful faces forever captured in Polaroid squares. 8 girls. 10 photos of each, too many to display at one time. I choose my favorite 3 from each set and arrange them in neat columns on my coffee table and tell them, soon you'll have company, chica número 9. Usually, when I bring the girls out, I keep lotion and a towel handy and take my time to relieve each moment of our one and only day. But earlier tonight, I brought out the girls solely to whet my appetite, to sharpen my nerves for that new special someone. I propped them on my bureau so they could watch me get ready. We had a nice conversation. The double feature is Mortuary and the Slumber Party Massacre. Girls dig horror flicks, and yet they act so surprised when I show up. Halfway through the first movie, it's time to take a closer look at the pickings. I pull the bulb from my dome light so I can slip out unnoticed from my Ford. I creep to the fence and check out what's going on in the other cars. I zoom in on heads silhouetted by the movie screen and haloed from the glow of cigarettes and joints. What most draws my attention, it's what's going on behind the steamed up windows. I light a cigarette. It's a way to hide in plain sight. People don't bother asking what I'm doing because the answer is obvious. I'm just some vato enjoying a smoke. Forgettable, invisible. The minutes passed. The expectation builds. Tonight.
Wow, Mario, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
by the way, that my story is autobiographical, in case anybody wants to know.
Oh my!
You could tell by the way you were staring at the camera reading that.
Yeah, I know. It was like the research was.
It's
Yeah,
intense.
the research was so much fun. Let me tell you.
A lot of drive-ins, huh?
Yeah, and it was hard finding Polaroids today. Wow, it's
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, that Polaroids does seem to be a thing that for collectors is like how vinyl has made a big comeback. Polaroid seems to be also doing something similar.
yeah.
And murder.
And murder. Yeah, well, murder never goes out of style. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, it's the thing as old as man, basically. That and I'd have to say prostitution. Man. So yeah, it being somewhat, as you would say, semi-autobiographical, right? What other influences did you draw on?
Well, a couple of them. One is I love like forensic files. I love crime stories, so I worked on that. And I attended a reading when I was thinking about writing this story. I attended a reading, and it was about somebody writing from the perspective of a child serial killer molester. And it was an amazing read. I mean, the guy, I forget his name. It was an amazing read because he went right there to every, and not the graphic details, but in the mind of the criminal, of the killer. So you really felt icky because it was so true what he was writing about. And I thought about that as I was writing the story. Is these people who do these kinds of things are not right. They see the world in a very different way, and they see their victims as really as psychological prey. And I kind of wanted to draw on that in the story.
Okay. Wow. It's pretty intense. It has a really potent effect. So yeah, these are all stories that I certainly am intrigued to go out and read. Let's take it back to the group so we can see all our happy smiling faces. But guys, thanks so much for participating in this. Brett, Jeannie, is there anything more you'd like to add about what you heard today?
I have two quick thoughts. One is that Alec, I'd like to know when the audiobook is coming out. And I have to say, with Mario's book, when we were with Mario's short story, when we were first reading it, we got a big kick out of the Slumber Party Massacre being brought up because we were all over having one of the stars from that movie, Brink Stevens, be a guest at the Festival of Horror. So, and she's coming.
Right. Yeah, I just got to interview her a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a really good interview.
She also gave the book a blurb, so she said something about it.
Nice.
I was going to comment, give kudos to Mario, which is rare, but he has a phenomenal voice when it comes to that gritty noir thing. But I thought when I got the stories, he had the best twist. And now that the reviews have come out, everybody's calling his story out for having the best twist. But I also wanted to mention, like, if you know Mario, he's kind of an infectious inspiration, more so than COVID even. Like, he's just got that. So I have a story in the book that I co-wrote with Sean Eads, and the antagonist is the devil. And all I thought about when writing the devil was Mario. So I mean, Mario's all over the book.
So if I could just make a comment here, that Josh, you mentioned Farrell being your inspiration to write. I want to be your inspiration to stop writing.
The sad thing is I know that there's a lot of truth there. So thank you, Mario.
You can thank me with Polaroids.
Oh, are you gonna pull them out to
whatever. It'll be between me and you.
Oh, okay.
Well, geez, that sounds incredibly enticing. This has been fantastic, guys. And as we're starting to wrap things up, to all the authors, to Warren and to Angie and to Alec, who is sharing Keith's work, and to Mario, thanks for sharing your art and sharing your words. It's right now, it being a pandemic, it's a tough time for a lot of people, and I think this just even these little glimpses into your short stories provides amazing escape, and also especially with like Keith's words and Mario's, a little bit of kind of self-reflection too. But yeah, and just for everybody that's watching and will watch this time and time again, because it's going to live out there in the internet landscape, go buy the damn book. Go to Amazon, go to hexpublishers.com and purchase this amazing art, because that's what it is.
Or tattered cover.
What's that? Go to
tattered cover.
Go to Tattered Cover, yeah. Definitely go out and support your local bookshop too, because everybody needs a little hand right now. Guys, anything else? Anybody else want to comment?
Well, I'd like to comment. I want to thank Brett and Jeannie for doing a really great job as the co-editors for this. I really enjoyed their edits. Jeannie's like, you could kind of amp up the horror here, the grittiness and stuff. So that was cool. So Brett, I don't know what kind of a wife you have there, but you know how to channel that. And also to Josh, he's the head guy, the big man over there at Hex Publishers, and he's given us local writers and then people from outside this area. This is a great venue, and particularly for horror, right? I mean. He's done so much for the local writing community, putting out some stuff that is absolutely first rate. So I'm glad to be part of this team.
Thanks, man.
Oh, fantastic! Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for coming on. Oh, what's that?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There you are, Alec.
I just want to thank you again for inviting me, Josh, and everybody being so kind to have me on. I'm excited that I could help with that trailer for the thing and to read Keith's story. And a little plug for Keith: if you go to keithfarrellwriter.com, there's an obituary I wrote for him's there, and then everything else is his work, links to every Omni that he ever worked on, all the stories that he wrote that are published so far, and learn about Keith, keithfarrellwriter.com. And to the theme of It Came from the Multiplex, on YouTube right now, I urge everyone to search out a movie called The Mutilator, a.k.a. Fall Break. Edmund Farrell, Keith's brother, was one of the major factors in getting that movie made in makeup department, camera. It's the hidden slasher that isn't really so hidden. It's as gory and offensive as they come, and Lee would have possibly cut something off that I don't want to think about. But check out The Mutilator, aka Fall Break, if you want the real deal. Right now, something you may have never seen that maybe could be in this book. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alex. Angie and Warren, where's a good place to go and find your works?
So a lot of people might know or might not know, I work for a literary agency. So I'm actually also in the publishing industry. So I have a couple of nonfiction books out for writers. One is about what literary agents do, what they don't do. Do you need one? The other one is a book called Querycraft, which walks you through how to write a really good query letter that will hopefully get your manuscript requested by an agent or an editor. So most of my writing is actually nonfiction resources for writers, but you can find out more about me at angiehodapp.com, angiehodapp.com.
Yeah, and I have 6 novels, 2 with Josh, 2 with Hex Publishers that were co-authored with Josh, the Denver Moon series. We're working on the 3rd, and I also wrote the Cop series and a science fiction spy novel called Tides of Maritime.
Cool.
About that.
Yeah, yep, that's what I said.
Nice. And Mario, where can we find more of your works?
On my shelf over here. No, I'm. You can. They're at mainly Amazon or Hex Publishers. Also, Wordfire Press carries my stuff. And let me think of where else. You can go to marioacevedo.com, which I update periodically, which is seldom. And I'll have links there to my different books. I've got a lot of short stories out. And I have a book coming out next year from 5-Star Press. It's a Western that I co-wrote with this Mexican guy. And we'll see how that does. And, well, so there you have it. I've been pretty busy lately, writing quite a bit,
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much, everybody, for participating. It's been a lot of fun, having you on and being able to listen along with your short stories.
Thanks for having us. I'm going to throw something else out there. So I want to thank everybody as well, since this is the last one that we're doing. So thanks to Angie and Warren, which are phenomenal writers. And Angie, she doesn't give herself enough credit. Her short stories are fantastic. So you look up her nonfiction stuff, of course, but look up her short fiction work as well. And Warren, there's a reason that I am collaborating with him on Denver Moon, because he takes my garbage and makes it good. And then to Mario and to Alec and Keith, of course. And Alec contributed to the Alec made the trailer for the book. He also made the trailer for Psy Wars and created an original score. But the people that we didn't mention, all of the other contributors, the other authors that are involved, you can look all of them up. They're all phenomenal, and we're lucky to have them. And additionally, the artists. So we've got AJ that Brett and Jeannie mentioned, but also Brett and Jeannie's son Xander did the illustrations for each of the stories. And Aaron Lovett did there's a little flip book if you purchase the physical copy of the book. But more than that, I just wanted to throw out there, if you're into horror, next year, assuming that the virus doesn't kill it off, the Bram Stoker Awards will be hosted in Denver, at the Stoker Con, and they've asked me to edit the book for that. And everybody that's on here, besides you, Dan, I'm sorry, but we can talk about it.
I'm not a very good writer.
But everybody's contributing to that project as well. So it's awesome to work with everybody again, and check that out next year.
Cool. That's going to be really exciting to see that and see that come to fruition. I can't wait. Hopefully we can do another online reading when that comes out.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much. To close out, I'm your host, Daniel Crozier, here with Josh and Warren and Angie and Mario and Jeannie and Brett and Alec. And to all of you out there in the world, I hope you're having a great Sunday. I hope things are looking up. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you all.